Please don't! Oh no! Ah, what are you? Hey, just
Hold up! Oh, Jesus! Hey, what the?
Please don't! Ah, what are you?
What the? Son of a...
Oh no!
So I've just finished playing Hitman 2016 Season 1, and I want to talk about this game. I didn't go for the individual episodes simply for the same reason for which I don't watch Walking Dead or Game of Thrones whenever the first episodes come out, but actually go for them in bulk when everything's out. Simply because I'm not patient enough. I don't feel satisfied when I just get a fraction of what the story should be. And I have to say Season 1 actually does not finish the story, it just basically starts it. So from that perspective, I'm actually rather disappointed. But of course, the game has strengths and weaknesses which I want to address here. And yeah, without further ado, let's go. Let's do this. So the first thing I want to address is the fact that the maps are really big. And they might even feel a little bit too big in my personal opinion. Now, maps are something that I like to discuss in every game. And in some games, I find that they did a great job with them. In others, it feels more like the maps are too big. Now, the maps feel a little bit too big here. And that's very difficult to distinguish. But the thing is, you see, unlike in some other games where the maps are really humongous and you need to travel and you're bored, here you're never bored when you play them, but you miss out on a lot of stuff, okay? So there is a lot of stuff scattered throughout these maps. And they've made sure to scatter the stuff really well, so basically you get to replay the game, the map several times to discover everything. There are a lot of things, but it feels to me like it's just too big and you're just not going to be able to do this unless you replay the map several times, by which personally for me it already is extremely boring, although they actually were hoping that we would replay each map many times over, maybe like 5, 6, 10 times, but I'll get to that since there are different game modes which basically make you replay the map. But yeah, they feel a bit too big for me personally. Now, you get something called opportunities, and this is something that we've always seen in Hitman. It's essentially the possibility to kill somebody in an especially interesting way. Just, you know, it's been in the previous games as well. It's not just go and blow him in the head, but maybe poison him in a special way or disguise yourself as somebody who's going to be having something to do with him, and then, you know, use some kind of a sneaky way to kill him, create an accident, something like that. So that's always something that's been awesome. Everyone's loved doing that in Hitman, and I won't lie to you, it's a lot of fun doing here too. But the opportunities, and there are several ones always per map, they're you know, they're pretty complex, but they are again scattered too much, and you get to choose whether you want to, you know, like information where to go, which is basically, in this case, basically the game straight out tells you where to go for the next step of the new opportunity and the next step, and it feels like it's holding your hand. And some people say like that's kind of the easy mode of the game, since you can disable some other helps as well. The instinct, for example, which enables you to see through walls and everything and identify everyone from afar. Now, I have to say the opportunities are a bit too scattered for me, simply because if you want to play the game the way it's really meant to be played without this tutorial kind of situation where it tells you, aha, you accepted this opportunity, so now go and get these pills first or go poison this, and it straight out leads you to the point where you're just following checkpoints until you win. If you don't want this, you gotta disable it, and then you might as well spend 40 minutes just looking for whatever it is that you need actually. So, this is too complicated with these huge maps and the way everything's scattered, and partially it's not even that logical. It's just, you know, almost feels like a game of hide and seek where basically you have to find a needle in a haystack, and it's just, you know, it's too difficult without it personally for me. I guess I'm not as good a player. I know that there are people who do this the hard way, and I'm just not patient enough. So that's something that, you know, as a matter of taste, some people might actually like the fact that it's difficult to find opportunities, but I tend to get impatient. So that might be something more, you know, that might be something more related to me as a person rather than the game itself. But for me, I felt like it wasn't so good. Now, the things sometimes that work in terms of opportunities can be rather extreme and ridiculous. Now, obviously, Hitman is not a realistic game, but it is a stealth game with actions, with excellent stealth. You get to dress up as other people and to try to, you know, make your kills as masked as possible and everything. And I just feel like some of these opportunities are just absurd. I'll just give you an example. Okay, you gotta kill a certain woman. So you find out by reading stuff that she has an affair with a yoga teacher, I think it was. In any case, it was some kind of guy who works for in the mansion where she lives, and she has an affair with this guy. So what you do is you go take out the guy however you want and dress up as him, take his phone, go to her room, and you call her. And so now you are basically Agent 47. He has a very deep voice. He has, I mean, everyone who's played Hitman in the past, it's always the same voice actor. He's excellent. I actually enjoy the way he's voiced. But you get to hear the trainer, you know, how he talks. And I gotta say that, you know, there's no comparison of voices, okay? Now, I have a girlfriend, and if some other girl were to call me from her phone with a completely different voice, or even if it was someone who had a similar voice, I would certainly be able to distinguish them. And in the case of this trainer and Agent 47, the difference is just, you know, ginormous. There's no comparing voices. But the woman who has an affair with him absolutely buys it, and she comes to him. He calls her to this room. She comes there, and the lights are dimmed, but there is light still. There's like a fire going on, and there are a few candles. You know, it's not completely pitch black. Okay, everything's still kind of visible, but everything's dimmed. Yet she goes in, and Agent 47, you know, is just disguised as this guy. He's wearing basically his clothes. He's not wearing a mask or something. She looks straight at him talks to him, you know, she's about 1.5 meters far away from him, but she does not recognize that it's not the same guy. And that's pretty crazy. That's just, it's one of those things that are ridiculous. It was very amusing. I liked it. But they could have thought of something else, because this is not the only time where just something that never would work in real life now works, and the game just shrugs it off like it's absolutely normal. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but I actually found it positive in a way that I found it funny. But it does break the immersion heavily, because until then, you know, you've been trying to be stealthy, you've been trying to do everything as perfectly as possible, you know, and you kind of get into the groove. You are the assassin in that moment. You do everything really well, and then this happens, and you're like, come on, that would never happen, you know. It totally demands from you to suspend your disbelief, and it's just. It's funny, and I feel like it shouldn't be. Like, this game doesn't aim to be funny, so it feels out of place. Now, the NPCs, and we have a ton of NPCs. The NPCs, when scared, they act very interestingly, you know. Okay, you got the guards and stuff, the policemen. These guys are basically going to try to kill you pretty fast. But the neutral NPCs, you know, the normal people on the street, they can act very strangely, you know. Sometimes, in one case, in the map in Morocco, I think it was, I found a battle axe. Okay, I'm sneaking, being an assassin, and suddenly I see this two-handed, double-bladed, you know, battle axe. And I think to myself, fuck stealth, this is where I'm gonna go gung-ho, and I'm gonna kill people with the axe. And it's a bazaar, it's full with so many people. So I think to myself, alright, this is where I go crazy, and I start killing people, you know. You actually saw part of the clip in the beginning of the video, but there's more from it. And I straight out start going from person to person, you know, cracking skulls, hitting them in the chest, like killing, murdering people. And the crowd is just sitting in circle and just looking at me as I go from person to person, they're not running, they're just screaming from time to time, but most of them are pretty interested. It's like they're waiting their turn like lambs to the slaughter. So the AI can be pretty strange at times. They sometimes act very weirdly. Another time a guy was suspicious of me. So he came into a bathroom, you know, he cornered me in a bathroom. And he's about to pretty much go into emergency mode. He's looking at me, you see that he's nervous, and he's like, who are you? What are you doing here and stuff? And you gotta imagine, he's inside the, kind of right where the door is open. So it's him in the middle, then there's the door on his right that's open, you know, basically. And as he's facing me, I just go behind the door, in front of his eyes. So I just go around him and behind the door. And suddenly the guy is like, I knew he would be scared and run. Everything's fine, guys, and he just turned around and left, you know. And that was pretty hilarious, because it's like, what kind of an idiot is he? He just saw me just go on his right, sorry, and he was satisfied. He's like, must be gone, problem solved. So the AI isn't the best. This will not ruin the gameplay for you. It will actually make it sometimes harder, sometimes easier, because sometimes the guys just always know where you are, you know. From the smallest things can fuck up. So if you're not perfect all the time, things can really fuck up. But if they do fuck up, you can just hide and wait for a longer time, and everything will be cool. Now, there's something that I don't like is that since we have a huge amount of NPCs, a huge amount of people, a huge amount of guards, unfortunately, I have tested this. It appears that the enemies are spawning infinitely, which really blows because I remember the old Hitman games where you would have a map with a preset amount of guards and stuff. And sometimes I would have this challenge, and I've talked to other friends who would also do this, so we all love this, where we would actually try to clean the whole map without triggering a single alarm. So we would go and kill one guard after the other, secretly hide the bodies and stuff, and you would clean the whole damn map. Nothing would be left except your target, and you just kill the target and leave. And that was so cool. This is not possible anymore. First of all, the number of NPCs is just ridiculous. But even if you wanted to, it would be impossible. The NPCs respawn, the guards respawn. Actually, as I was slaughtering them, I actually ended up somehow next to a spawn point. I saw NPCs spawning next to me. I actually went for them, and then more spawn. So this has been taken away from the game, and I think it's kind of sad because that was really cool, and it just increased the life of the game and gave you the option to do something more fun. But okay, now silenced weapons is the next thing I want to talk. You have, for example, your silenced gun, and I have to say that these weapons are not really worth it. You see, while they might be silenced, and this is where the game's problems are, because sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it is not. Okay, so if there's a person somewhere very near and I shoot someone with a silenced gun, because silenced gun still makes a very quiet sound, it's like, it's quiet. And if I shoot someone with a silenced gun, for example, the other person sometimes will hear, depending on how far they are, which is it's fine. If they want to go this more realistic path, I'd be okay. But at the same time, I would garrote someone, strangle him while his buddy is not facing him but in the same room. And while I'm strangling him, this guy's flapping around like a fish on land. He's moaning. He's like, he's being strangled. The other guy is not reacting. There is no way in hell that would work. I mean, I remember the first time I tested it, I was like, good, this works. Now I'm going to use this. So the rules basically are somewhat inconsistent, and silenced weapons have been made obsolete. In most cases, you can still use them. It's still good because, weapons is still better than loud weapons. At least you might, for example, have guys who are not in your immediate vicinity. You got like 3 guys, pull out your gun, bam, 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 really fast. 3 silent shots, and the others will not be alerted unless there's someone close by if you manage to land those 3 headshots. So it's useful, but again, it is limited and inconsistent. So that's something that was a bit disappointing. Now, another thing I want to say is that voice actors, it seems like they just had a handful of voice actors. Obviously, they Hitman Absolution, the previous game, did not sell very well, so they didn't do well. They had to actually, from what I understand, fire a few people that were worried, and they went with this episodic situation. And I'm going to address what I think of episodic games in general, but their budget is more limited, so they didn't have a budget for many voice actors, and you can tell. So you just have like a few guys, a few women, so get used to hearing pretty much the same guys voicing different NPCs. It's not so bad. It's not gonna kill the game or the mood for you, but it is something that of course can be improved upon. So I have to mention it. Now, one big negative side of this for me was that the game is still too expensive. For the whole season 1, you gotta pay €50, and on Steam, that just seems still way too expensive for me when you consider the content you're offered. You essentially have 6 story missions and then 2 bonus missions, and that's pretty much it. And that's a total of 8 missions. Just doesn't feel nearly as much as in previous games. And obviously, this is an incomplete game, so you're just buying the season 1. And there are going to be more seasons. The story isn't told through these 6 missions. So you're basically left unsatisfied. That's how I felt. You're left wanting more because the game on its own generally is good. But this, this is way too expensive. Come on, €50. And when it came out, it was 6 episodes times €10 each. So it was like €60. It's a full game price for what is essentially half of the game if we assume that there's going to be just one more season. And I have to be honest, I haven't done my research on that, so I'm not certain. Maybe there will be multiple seasons. Sorry about that. I probably should have done that. But I tend to not research games that much because I try to play them and just make my own opinion of the whole thing. And then as soon as I finish the game, I try to make these videos because I want my opinion of a game to be still fresh, so to speak, of right after I finished it. This is where the emotion and the experience in me is the strongest, and that way I don't forget stuff as well. So too expensive. That's definitely too expensive for me. Of course, I enjoyed the game, but I think that it's not worth its money. Sometimes we will buy things that are not worth their money. You have to agree with me. Sometimes we spend too much money on some things that really shouldn't. And this is such a guilty pleasure for me. I'm a huge fan of Hitman, but yeah, generally too little content for my taste. Now, something else that I seem to not like is the fact that you will only be killing bad guys, okay? There is not a single guy who is good. You're a goddamn assassin. You're working for, you're working for money. You're a hired assassin. And they emphasize on the fact that you are without scruples, without, any remorse. You're kind of an engineered assassin. You're super good at what you do, and you don't give a damn, you don't care. At the beginning where you meet this chick, I forgot her name, but who is your handler essentially in the company, several times she asks you how is it, and you're like messy, unorganized, stuff like that. You don't say it's hard to do and stuff, because he's a killing machine essentially. He's designed to be an assassin. And so yeah, you just kill bad guys, and it's like the game creators were like, yeah, you're basically this ruthless murderer for money who only kills bad guys. You're still a good guy. They're like, he's a bad guy, but actually he's a good guy. It's like a superhero. I don't like that. I have no problem playing the bad guy. I have no problem being a merciless killing machine. I've played so many games where I maul through people. And I mean, when you look at the footage where I go through that bazaar with the battle axe, I think you agree that, I have no problem being the bad guy. But I don't like the fact that all the contracts, at least so far, have only been, oh, this guy is really bad. Oh, this guy's a horrible politician. Oh, this is an asshole. Oh, this one murdered somebody, avenge. So it's always a situation where you're actually kind of the good guy taking out the bad guys. I don't approve of that. For the sake of the story, it should be the other way around most of the time, But okay, so that's one thing. There is no quick save in the game. While the game allows you to save at any point and load, and which by the way is fucking awesome, there's no way to do it with one button. And if you want to go for, and you get scores and stuff, I personally don't care about scores, but I do sometimes, just for my personal enjoyment, want to do a mission perfectly. And if you want to do that, you have to save and load a lot, because you will mess up. You're still learning the game, you're trying out different things, sometimes you miss somebody, or someone will come in right as you're hiding a body, and you're gonna have to load. And doing this over the menu, it's not so slow, but it's annoying. Why not make me use F5 and F9 and that's it? Well, I'll tell you why. I say it in every game, because of fucking consoles. And again, love consoles in some ways, but I hate the fact how they affect our games. They turn really good games into less good games because of this kind of shit. Because in consoles, you can't use quick save. How are you going to do that with a controller? You don't have a million buttons on it. So it's not there because it's not going to be in the console. That is the main reason, and that's annoying to me. I don't approve of that, simply because this is such a good function. It would really help. They could have at least patched it in for the PC game, but no. So that's something that I didn't like. Now, another thing is that once you finish these missions, if you're like me, you're pretty much done. I tried the challenges and stuff like that, but it's just not worth it. Essentially, from then on, you get to just replay the missions with different conditions, and if you beat them, sorry about that. Again, you get like minimal rewards, and you level up a little bit and stuff like that. You get new starting points. It's all bullshit, really. You can also do the missions made by people, but I was, called contracts. I just found it lame. I feel like once I have, played a mission 2-3 times, and I would usually, and that's what I would do, and I'm done, I'm done. It's just not as entertaining, and I'm not entertained by the idea of making the mission restrictive and giving me additional conditions on how to kill a guy and stuff. Just feels like the game is like, oh yeah, you have the option to do it however you want in whatever creative way, but now, as a bonus, you get to do it, but only in this one way, for example, with this restriction. I don't like that. So, for me, that was something, that sucked. And another thing that really sucks, and something that I absolutely hate, is the fact that you have these target missions. And what a target mission is, these are missions where you have to kill someone, and they are timely restricted missions. On a specific day, in a specific time, you have to play this mission. You can't save and load later or something like that. You have this one try to kill this one guy who's often, they will modify the map slightly for it. They will have new voice actors for it. So it's like additional content, which is supposed to kind of be free. But these missions are timed. They're limited to a certain time. And if you miss them, that's it. You can never play them again. And that is bullshit. Especially for people like me who bought the season 1 now. I basically am fucked. I don't get to play them. And it's ridiculous. And the worst part is that this is how they lure you into buying individual episodes, into not waiting until the whole thing is out. And this is one of the reasons why I think this whole season situation and episodic stuff is absolute bullshit. And it's a business model, and I feel like this is what the gaming has kind of become as of late. I mean, everyone works for money. Obviously, they're trying to make money from it, but I think this sucks. This is just a shitty business model, and it really ruins part of the game for me. Just imagine in the future, I don't even know how much of the game will be playable in the future, because this game has an online-only DRM. Turn this off, and like most of the content, contracts and stuff, and everything pretty much disappears from these things. You just get to do the story missions. You get no experience after stuff. You don't level up your assassin rank. It's not important for me personally, but I don't like the fact that a single player game, and we see this more and more often, is basically made into a online only DRM restricted bullshit, just so I don't know they just, I guess they make more money this way, but I just don't see it. And it's bad, because if you collect the games, if you want to, I don't know, one day show your kid your shitty games that you used to play. I mean, probably the kids of the future will not be very excited about the games we used to play, but you know what I mean? It's personally, I can kind of see it happening still, to show my kid and be like, these were real games, not the shit you're playing now. I want to be a grumpy old man. But yeah, so this is not gonna be happening. At least you're gonna be like, well, yeah, this was kind of a quarter of the game I used to play, but since it was online only. Or maybe it will be like, yeah, well, I have the game, but it doesn't work at all anymore. It's bullshit. They should not do this. Alright, now I've shit enough on this game for 20 minutes, and if you're still with me, let's get to the good part, because the game does have a lot of good in it. So I am left with mixed feelings, mostly because of some of these weaknesses and some of these business practices of these companies. But the game generally is actually pretty good, from a game standpoint. Now, I did mention the saving feature. You don't have quick save, but you can still save freely. So that's something that's good. I appreciate that. Then I did mention you get 2 bonus missions. I actually wasn't aware of this first. I thought it'd be just with 6. And then when I saw the bonus missions, I was like, nice, So that's kind of cool. Although it's more like you get very little and you don't expect much, and then you get a little bit more and you're happy. When you kind of are going out with a girl and you're hoping that maybe she will let you like kiss her at the end of the night, and at the end of the evening you kiss her, but also get to cup a feel of her boobs, and you're like, hell yeah, that's a level up. That's a great thing. That's pretty much what's happening here. It's not that much. You just grabbed her over the shirt, but it still counts. So the bonus missions. Then we have something that some people really like. I mentioned before, the help for indicators in this game. They can all be modified or turned off completely. For me, this is making the game too hard, but some people definitely like it. So I will mention it kind of as a good thing here. And I did mention there are lots of NPCs on the maps, which is, generally nice, because the maps feel full of life and stuff. But in all fairness, there were lots of NPCs in Absolution as well. So actually, I really enjoyed Absolution. I want to make this clear. I thought Absolution is an excellent game. It was fun for me. It was, enjoyable. And if I have to compare both games, I actually might still be more towards Absolution at this point, simply because the missions and the story felt... I mean, here you have really nice cinematics between missions, and it's explaining his... Agent 47's backstory a little bit and stuff, but the story seems to be progressing very slowly and very cryptically, and not so much through the missions as it is in between the missions. And I remember, for example, in Absolution, you had several missions that felt very closely connected and stuff. It just felt more like the missions were progressing the story much more actively. While here you have like a little bit of story, and then you get like a cool mission where you get to kill some people with some kind of general information. And then between missions again, you find out, oh, this is a little bit related to the story again. But it's never feeling like your missions are what's actually moving the story forward. It's more like the cinematics. Well, in Absolution, I had a feeling that this was achieved a little bit better. So, and for me, story is king. A great story will make a shitty game good for me. So, if you have a really bad game and you have a fucking awesome story and bad gameplay, I will still find the game to be awesome. If you have played, for example, Soma is a great example for that. Gameplay wise, it's pretty much nothing, but the story is really excellent, and it actually it starts interesting. It gets so much better later, and that just if you ask me, is Soma a good game? I'll tell you yes, it's a very good game. Although gameplay wise, it's actually a bad one, but still, story is king for me, and that's how I judge my games. It's very subjective, of course. But therefore, I actually personally enjoyed Absolution probably even a little bit more, although gameplay-wise, this game is clearly superior in pretty much every way. Now, I did mention that the voice acting is really good. Well, there are a few voice actors. They do an excellent job, and that kind of, makes up for the fact that there are just so few of them. Then, the thing with the bonus missions is that while the bonus missions still are on old maps, these maps are actually modified and makes them feel a bit more like new maps. So it's like these two bonus missions are not like completely new missions in the term of like you get a little bit of recycled stuff, but it's still original, and the whole things that you can do, and everything is much more interesting. And actually, the maps on these missions seem even a little bit restricted, feel a little bit smaller, but better. But in any case, the bonus missions were pretty good. I liked them, and like I said, the maps are modified to such an extent to feel fresh and new again. And the thing we have to see still is how the story will progress, because at this point the story is still just in the beginning of its development. Stuff is happening, but it's all left open. You are left craving more. And so I'm curious. For me, it's hard to judge it at this point, because it's like, you watch the first episode of a 5 seasons, one of these movies like The Walking Dead and stuff. You have 5 seasons more, see just the first episode. You can't judge it by that, and that's kind of how it feels. But if I had to, and compared to Absolution, like I said so far, Absolution is better for me. And another thing, of course, that is good is because of these different opportunities and all the ways you can do missions, you have a certain high amount of replayability. If you're like me, you're getting bored seeing the same place a million times, even if you play it differently. So for me, that's actually not such a big deal. I don't like to replay this game so much. It didn't work for me so much in replayability, but I know that many people will actually be able to do it. And the thing that for me works in terms of replayability is the fact that the game, you can play, you can exploit the AI and go really crazy here and just finish the missions in ridiculous ways, and that's something that I really liked. For example, the double axe situation I mentioned, that mission I actually went ahead, and as I went berserk with the axe, I did so well that they couldn't kill me for the most part. And then, they killed me once, but I loaded, and I thought to myself, alright, let's go completely balls to the wall and finish the mission this way. So I'm going to infiltrate places and kill the guys with this axe. And it worked, and you have to see, that's something that's very funny. When you are in some kind of disguise of someone who should be armed, whether it be a guard, a policeman, a security guy, essentially, when you are like that, you can carry any kind of weapon, and the other ones are not suspicious of you. You got some guards are marked, and as you wear a certain type of disguise, you see this dot over their head, and that's your indication that these guys will recognize you if you stay too close. And they will recognize you no matter what gun or weapon you're carrying, but the other ones that are not marked will not recognize you at all. So I am dressed as a policeman or as a military guy with a medieval battle axe, going inside an embassy, and everyone's like, yep, seems about right. Battle axe, check. Uniform, check. Yeah, that's one of ours. That's that guy I told you about with the walking always with his fucking medieval battle axe. It's hilarious. Again, that's probably something that most will see as negative, because it is breaking the immersion completely when you walk with a two-handed battle axe in hand, slowly around dressed as a policeman. You're like, hey Mike, how's it going, bro? And Mike is like, hey, you got your battle axe again, I see. And you're like, yeah, I can't let it go. Of course, these conversations never happen, but I like to imagine it as I play it. And maybe I should do a few, maybe I should do a few playthroughs just to so you people can witness the bullshit I go through sometimes in these games. But yeah, so you can replay the missions in various fun and absurd ways, and that actually is pretty cool. That work for me. You can cause havoc, and the thing is that Agent 47 is a really cool guy. I've liked him in previous games, and they still made him cool here. He's kind of ruthless, and he's really confident in his abilities, so that makes it more fun to play as him. And ultimately, that enables you to play in any style you like. And something that's a bit of a drawback perhaps is the fact that sometimes it feels like just shooting your way to victory would be easier. Now, while I would not advise you go through the whole game guns blazing because you die pretty quickly, you can exploit the AI, stay in a specific place, or either just keep guys who keep coming or knocking them out and breaking their necks. You know, there are ways to sort of cheese your way to victory, and sometimes you really invest some long time in devising a plan, and then you see this guy who you're supposed to kill just passing you by, and his guard, for example, is not looking for some reason, and you're like, what the fuck, you know, I pull my silence gun, bam, in the head, that's it. The second bonus mission, actually, you have to kill a politician, and it literally starts with you at the beach on an slightly elevated platform, and the guy in a photo shoot right in front of you. So one of the times I was like, alright, what happens if I pull out my gun in front of all these guys, shoot him in the head and run? So I did that, shot him, he died immediately obviously, ran around, went into a crypt, strangled the guy who's working there, dressed up as him, and left like a badass, you know, nobody recognized me, it was all cool. So this can be a way to win the game really quickly and really efficiently, and I like that. You know, just like I said, this is not how you should be doing it. It's not how the game is meant to be played. But if you want to, you can. So ultimately, it's a Hitman game. I am biased in this. I love Hitman games. I've played them all, and I've enjoyed all of them in the past. And I enjoyed this one too. But it's not perfect. It has its problems. So if you want to play it, you will like it. If you're a fan of the series, you will love it. There's no doubt about it. It's more of the same, slightly modified, but still more of the same, and it feels great doing it. And if you're new to the series but you like stealth games, you will definitely enjoy this game as well. So definitely something that will probably be nice and everyone can enjoy it, but be ready for some bullshit. Alright, so I'd like to thank you all for watching my long video again. If you've reached this part, you are my heroes. And thanks to my viewers who have been supporting me, writing nice comments. I really appreciate you guys, love you. And I hope you'll be watching my next review. I plan on playing the new Dark Souls 3 DLC. So let's see how that goes. Have a great day.